today. We're here to talk and learn as much as we can about Allen High, the largest high school in Texas and the second largest high school in the US, I believe, and how they're actually leveraging digital tools to efficiently run the campus and keep it a safe and happy place. So just a couple of housekeeping things for everyone in the webinar here today. We can see you, but obviously, or you can see us, but we can't see you. So please do get in there, ask some questions. You can see there's a chat and a Q&A area. We will definitely get to all your questions at the end. We'll save 15 or 20 minutes to get into that. I think that's probably some of the greatest value that we can offer here. And then, of course, after the call, we will share the deck, we'll share the recording. So you'll have everything that we kind of go through today. And then we'll also share some details on how you can connect with some folks at Minga, of course, if that's something that you want to do as well. So yeah, my name is Jeremy. I'm Director of Sales here at Minga. Joined Minga back in January and have had the most fun getting to know all of our customers and learning about all the different challenges that are kind of happening at so many schools and districts across the US, and seeing how we can help. And with me today, I have Larry and Morgan. So maybe Larry, if you want to start, would love to know maybe how long have you been in education, maybe what drove you to take that path, and what's your favorite part about working at Allen, and then maybe Morgan will do the same for you.
Yeah, awesome. So hi, everyone. I'm Larry Parker. I'm the behavior specialist for Allen High School. And so it's been fun. This is my 6th year in Allen, 8th year in education. It's fun working at a high school bigger than many school districts because we're unique in a lot of ways and our problems are unique and require unique solutions or creative solutions. So it's been a really fun, journey to be on. I never wanted to work in schools. I actually graduated high school a year early because I hated high school. And now it's like a sick cosmic joke that I spend every day in one. So it's, definitely been an interesting journey, but I've really enjoyed my time in Allen. So
what's your, before we pass over to Megan, what's your favorite part about being on the Allen team?
I think because we are so big that it's really allowed us to have something for everybody because we're such a diverse staff and such a diverse student body. Having like 6,000 plus kids in our 9 through 12 system, we're truly able to have something where everyone can feel welcomed. There's a lot of research against big high schools that doesn't really support them as entities. And I kind of feel like Allen, we've set ourselves apart from that statistic and really strive to be different. So, seeing kids of any background, of any socioeconomic status, of any culture, all those things, really finding a home here has been a beautiful thing. So that's my favorite part of it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. That's beautiful. Morgan, off to you.
My name is Morgan Lefevre. I'm the library media specialist here at the high school. This is my 19th year in education and my 5th year at the high school. I was a math teacher before I became a librarian, but I've been a librarian for many years now. So that's kind of me. I just like how diverse we are, honestly, here at the high school. Like Larry said, like we have a culture club for pretty much any culture that you can possibly think of. We have so many different foreign exchange students coming in here. We have over 70 plus clubs that kids can get involved in outside of school, inside of school. So it's been really good to see them grow and be a part of something that's really big. And I just like to say, hey, I'm the only librarian at the largest high school in the state of Texas. So I'm just like, hey.
That's a great thing to be able to say. I love it. That's very cool. I wonder, it must feel sometimes like, I guess, almost like a college or something like that, where, there's so much going on. There's people who have so many different interests. They're just getting in there and getting access to that kind of community maybe sooner than some other kids might.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So cool. Okay, awesome. Well, thanks for the intros, both of you, and thank you again for giving us your time. So really quickly, we're going to just chat a little bit about Allen High School, a little bit more in terms of kind of what's going on, the size and scope. We're going to hopefully dive in with you both on just maybe what kind of challenges over the last few years you were experiencing, and learn a little bit about like what life might have been like before Minga. And then we want to just learn and chat and dive into like all the different kind of digital tools that help effectively run the campus. And then we'll, like I said, we'll save some time for Q&A at the end. So some really kind of fun stats. 6,000 plus students at Allen High School, 98% graduation rate, which is probably something to be very proud of. And then I think 90% of graduates actually pursue post-secondary education opportunities, like just amazing stuff. I think we definitely need to learn and talk about the STEAM Center. I'm not going to try and explain what that is. I'll leave that up to you all. And then one of the things, I don't know if you all talk about this, but I guess the campus is actually 20% bigger than Buckingham Palace. Kind of a random tidbit.
Kind of mentioning on that square footage that you have right there, we're missing a zero.
Yeah, we are missing a zero.
Yeah, so a little bit bigger than 100,000 square feet. We're over 1 million square feet. So,
and if I'm not mistaken, there's 86 points of exit and entry. Is that right?
In this one particular building, that sounds accurate.
Oh, I don't know, maybe because I know my emergency exit doors are like 95 and 96.
Oh, okay.
So probably closer to 100.
Pretty incredible. That's a lot of access points for everyone. Well, maybe I don't know, Larry or Megan, who would like to jump in, but can we talk a little bit about the STEAM Center and just what it is and how it operates?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as our district has grown, we've really strived to be a one high school town. That has really helped the community buy in to the campus and to the district, and has really kind of, you know, I came from a town where we had 2 high schools, so we were constantly pitted against each other. So as we've grown, obviously we've expanded this one building that's bigger than Buckingham Palace, and also to meet the diverse student needs and to offer a more robust like catalog of offerings to our kids. We have built, I believe it was like 5-6 years ago, our STEAM Center, and that has allowed us to have a place where we house our kind of specialized STEM classes. So some of our advanced like calculus, statistics, forensic science, aquatic science, environmental science. It's built in a way where it was built in kind of a swampy area, so there's natural swamp stuff still there that our aquatic science kids are able to go out and like, you know, work outside and gather samples and go back and analyze them within like under a microscope. So that's been really interesting. And so aside from STEAM, we also have our freshman center that they're both kind of extensions of the main campus, where we're 9 through 12 system. And because of that, we transport kids back and forth every period between the 3 buildings. So, you know, it's been a kind of a logistical nightmare in a lot of ways. You know, some things sound pretty on paper or sound great in theory, but whenever we're actually busing kids back and forth, it creates a lot of problems that, you know, I'm sure we're going to talk about how Minga helped solve those problems. But
about 10 to like even 15 minutes away from our campus though too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the STEAM Center itself.
Correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then how far away is the freshman center?
Within a mile.
Yeah. Luckily that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's a 4-minute run.
Yeah, 4-minute run. Oh, no, thank you.
Okay, so well, yeah, that's a perfect transition there. I mean, when you first opened up the STEAM Center and, you know, got these things rolling where we were moving kids from different campuses, what were some of the major challenges that you were dealing with?
You know, that distance, that 10 to 15 minutes, is assuming that all traffic is good. If, you know, I don't know how traffic is up there in Canada, Jeremy, but down here in be kind of crazy sometimes. and we drive like wild people, so there's lots of accidents. So, getting kids and kind of being aware of where kids are from a school safety standpoint was a big logistical concern. That, checking kids in whenever they were tardy, being able to easily pivot back and forth between, okay, today or this period, kids are tardy because they went to Starbucks on the way to the STEAM center versus today they're tardy because there was an accident on the highway, are two different things. So, there was the kind of the problem of how we're pivoting back and forth between those two models, because one probably leads a kid to discipline where the other one, the kid deserves a little grace. And obviously the STEAM Center as an entity functions very differently than the high school, has different kinds of collaborative areas. They have a maker space with, I believe, 3D printers and tools and things that kids can go in during their privilege periods and access. So figuring out how we're holding kids accountable to being on their best behavior when they're in that location. And so there was a lot of challenges that were novel at the time that we've kind of ironed out. But it has not been an easy process to iron those out.
Yeah, always a journey, I think. It's funny, when we make a change or we, invest in a solution, such as Minga even, there's always a period of time where you have to go through that change process, right? Staff need to learn, students need to learn, parents need to learn. I think the successful projects are the ones where folks are committed and they kind of stay the course, right? Because there's always going to be challenges no matter what you do. We're never going to solve 100% of every issue. I'm curious, Megan, for you, in your role, maybe what were some of the major challenges that you were dealing with? Did you have like paper-based process that you were managing, or was there check-ins with students that you were dealing with, or behavior issues?
Not really behavior issues of sorts, but I know we have the kids scan into the library every time they come into the library, because we are a closed room. And so I have actually gotten to see like all of the kind of tweaks and things that we've needed to do with Minga to see, okay, all right, this isn't working right here, but this is good here. I can see this kid, I can see their faces. So I've kind of been in the beginning of it. In the back end, I'm sure some of our principals are tired of hearing from me because I'm like, hey, we need to do this, or hey, this isn't working properly, or we need to fix this. So mine is mainly, getting them checked in, getting them taken care of with technology issues or library, but just getting rid of like all the paper that we're doing, and we can see everything electronically, whether we have it on our phone, whether they have it on their Chromebook, whether I have it on my desktop that's constantly up. So it's a little bit more accessible.
Amazing. Yeah, that seems really helpful. Morgan, I just realized that I was calling you Megan. I think I might have said Megan 3 different times. So I am so sorry for that.
It is.
I must not have.
I will tell you, I just wrote down Megan on here.
I must not have had enough coffee this morning, so I apologize.
No, you're totally good. I got called Megan growing up because Morgan wasn't very common for a female name, so I don't take it.
We're on the same page now, so I appreciate you being patient with me. Fantastic. So, Larry, can you maybe dig a little deeper into your role with behavior at Allen? And I don't know. It's an amazing role, and I think it's an important role. And I don't know how many schools that are on today have someone like you on their campus. So it might be just really valuable to learn a little bit about what you do day to day and what you're responsible for.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is not a super common role. And I will say from my experience collaborating with other behavior specialists who are assigned to a specific campus, we're usually assigned to low income campuses that receive additional funding under like federal funding to help support those low income kids. So, because there's a correlation between socioeconomic status and behavior, unfortunately. So, we have a couple other campus ones in our district even, but overall, they're usually at a district level and support special education. So I used to do that. I used to work in special education. And I've enjoyed kind of a transition to more of a general education lens and holistic like campus programming. So I help support our teachers in their classroom consultatively. I work with kids individually, but I also kind of help oversee our PBIS programming, our campus-wide engagement programming. I help support programs that are more preventative to support on-task behavior, whether that's in the hallway or in the classroom or in the cafeteria or in the library supporting Morgan. So kind of a lot of hats, all geared at keeping the peace, because, you know, the Bible says, blessed are the peacekeepers, and that's what I do all the time. I just keep the peace. You know, I need additional blessings every day, but
Morgan's looking at you funny after that one. She was giving you a face there.
Yeah, you know, and I'm probably going to refer to her as Megan for the rest of the webinar. No, it's, you know, it's so it's a lot of different things. So did that answer your question, Jeremy?
Yeah, no, it definitely did. It definitely did. No, it's a unique role, and like I said, I think it's important. In some ways, it seems to me that you're almost like this intermediary between maybe like the administration and the students, and you do a lot of, I'm sure, mediating, right, different situations, and it sounds like you always have to put yourself from a perspective point, like you're putting yourself in the administration's shoes and the teacher's shoes,
Correct.
and then you're also putting yourself in the students' shoes, so giving them a voice too in some ways.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of times administration has their hands kind of tied, or they're overwhelmed with the amount of different tasks that they have to undergo. You know, they have meeting after meeting. And so being really able to serve as a support person for the kids and an advocate for the kids to administration, and to serve as that intermediate voice is a very enriching privilege. And, you know, being able to really argue for campus-wide change and policy that impacts the kids in a positive way, because also, you know, at a certain point when you leave the classroom, you kind of forget what it's like to work so directly and support those kids, and you kind of lose touch inadvertently, which is just an unfortunate reality, but it's definitely a reality nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, so cool. Morgan, I'm curious for you. Can you talk us through like what was it like for you in your role to go from, you know, a world without Minga and kind of some of these digital tools to the world with Minga? Like, what changed for you? Were there any road bumps or you know, challenges along the way?
I mean, with anything, I think honestly, just the challenges is just making sure that everything is synced correctly, you know, your network is working correctly. As long as all of those little pieces are together and you have your data put in correctly, it makes it so much easier. I have found that I see where when schedules get changed and things don't get changed in Minga, but I have the access to go in and change it for a kid. But it's nice to know we are kind of catching some of those kids that are straggling around. They come to school, but they don't ever go to class. So it's holding them more accountable with sorts. I'm able to kind of talk to them a little bit more, let them know, hey, you know, we can't do this. So, you know, I can help with the behavior because Larry, you know, talks to everybody about all the behavior things. So we've kind of all been able to get a little bit more in depth on the students level and help talk to them like they're normal kids, which they are. But it's helped out just, I think, honestly, with our administration is that we do have a lot of kids that don't show up to class. And we need to get those kids, we need to get them educated because they're not when they're just sitting in the hallways. So holding them accountable, holding staff accountable too, but just kind of knowing where those kids are at any given time, especially with our large campus. I mean, our doors are locked on the outside, so they can't just get into any door. But we have a big area that kids can hide and go different places. So being able to see that electronically, get onto any device and be able to search up a kid, it's that safety aspect is a little bit more comforting with it. where we didn't know before. I mean, I would have a Google sheet up and have to switch it every day, and my kids weren't in there. So having names attached to everything, it's really helped even with me with the data of how many people are coming in and using my space in a year. So it's been very, I've kind of been on the get-go from the beginning with it, because Larry kind of worked with me behind the scenes with stuff, and it has so many great features, and it's really, training that staff, being consistent with it, and it can do so many wonderful things.
Well, we really appreciate that. It's awesome to hear that it's had such a positive impact for you. And I love to hear that being able to actually collect data is helpful for you in your role. I mean, being able to report on, the usage of your area and how many students you're interacting with throughout the year. I mean, that's really powerful information that can lead to different budgeting conversations or staffing challenges that you're trying to solve. And if you just don't have that information, how can you have that conversation effectively?
Right.
Yeah.
How about for you, Larry? Like, I know you have really wide kind of scope of responsibilities, but what's been the biggest thing for you?
I think, looking, kind of playing off what y'all were saying, the use of data, and looking even at special education students in particular, like obviously special education is one of the most lawsuit intensive areas of public education. And so looking at some of the easiest things for lawyers and advocates to pick apart is that behavior section of a student's special education plan. And so I've really worked with our teachers to leverage the data from Minga as tangible data points to support their special education programming. So that way, if we ever did end up in a contentious situation with a parent or end up in court, God forbid, that we have firm evidence to support the programming we're suggesting. So I think in some ways, like, I've really pushed for that. Also playing off of what Morgan said about school safety, being in a sea of 5,000 plus kids at a time is very daunting. And yes, our kids wear physical IDs and that helps, but also being able to kind of know who's in the hallway at what time and during academic periods. As soon as we adopted Minga, we kind of saw a shift in our campus, and our head principal sent a picture. And this is one of kind of the key moments where I'm like, yeah, this was a good investment, and not just serving as a salesperson for Minga, but he's of our hallways, and they were a ghost zone, and not in a bad way. Like, they were clear. We knew where our kids were. We were able to actively monitor, and if we saw a kid had left without permission that was indicated, we were able to locate the kid and address it and return them back to the academic environment. But it kind of shifted, and like, that overall sense of accountability supported school safety in a way that was so meaningful. And it is concerning on a campus this size and in this day and age that safe and secure school aspect is vital. I know our principal, this isn't my side of things, but I know our principal has been thrilled about the potential for reunification and using Minga if there was ever an incident where we had an active shooter or some kind of emergency situation where we had to evacuate the building. We could then utilize Minga at the drop of a hat to reconsolidate all of our kids and take attendance to know that we're aware that everyone's safe. So, between leveraging data and assuring that our kids are safe, like, those two things are irrefutable in their importance. And so being able to have those because we utilize Minga has been very powerful.
Yeah, I mean, it honestly gives me like shivers when I hear some of these stories where it's making such a big difference. I know the whole team at Minga, being able to hear those stories and just hear the positive impact that it's having, it just really means a lot. And I think it kind of fuels us to keep on going and keep on pushing the tool forward. I'd love to maybe just quickly touch on the student piece and just, what was that journey like for the students? Because from what I've heard and what I understand, they're pretty fired up about Minga in a lot of ways. So let's talk about that a little bit.
It was definitely not a super warm welcome. Kids don't often like to be held accountable. And so when we first rolled it out, we kind of rolled it out mid-year, which was already a shock. We rolled out part of Minga initially, and it was the hall pass side. So they went from not being tracked in depth to being tracked in depth. And we coincidentally also got a new speaker and clock system that around the building. So we have these new like smart clocks in every classroom. And the kids had determined that Minga linked to those and we were tracking them.
Oh yeah, we were GPS tracking them.
And a general sense of misunderstanding, I think, was an error in our own rollout. You know, we kind of didn't allow the misinformation, but we didn't do enough to actively prevent it. So once we corrected course, and I engaged students in the side of Minga that incorporated the point system, the PBIS programming that I brought in with it, then we started pairing Minga as a reinforcer and a good thing for kids. And that kind of did flip the script. And so we had our school store making I Heart Minga shirts and Minga Rocks shirts and Have You Minga Today. And then I was known around campus as the Minga guy because I was responsible for Minga programming. So, you know, it did kind of shift, and now kids are, you know, we also, just like our adults, we have to train our kids how to use it and become accustomed to it. And so once we were able to do that, the kids responded really well. And, you know, we actually have had other schools reach out or buy into Minga because their student council came and collaborated with our student council, and our student council kids told those kids, and those kids told their administration. So other schools were buying into Minga because our kids were like free advertising about it. And so they told me that, and I'm like, oh, I had no idea your kids even came to our school. But, you know, so once the kids got on board with it and understood it as like a one-stop shop for student engagement, you know, it really kind of flipped the script. And then being able to,
we had the student engagement app, and it was horrible. It never worked any of the time. So it was taking that aspect and a whole bunch more and making Megan combined all of it together.
Yeah, that's so cool. And it's we made a shift this year where every school that has access to Minga has access to the community and events module, as well as digital IDs. It comes standard with every Minga. It sounds like, you know, it's not just two of you obviously managing the content that goes on there. You know, students are involved, other teachers, administrators. Can we chat about that? And then maybe while we're chatting about this, anyone in the attendees, please start throwing in any of your questions in the Q&A, and I'll start firing those over.
Yeah. Okay. I know with one thing that we have started this year with that we didn't last year, since we started in the middle of the year with Minga, is taking most of our clubs that had web pages and moving those clubs information into Minga, so that the kids do have a one-stop shop for looking at what is available, what sporting events are happening, what's after school today. So the kids are really involved in that because most of our clubs are, they're student-led. We are just the adult in the room to say that we were there, but they're student-led. So they're creating these Minga groups and then events, and then our kids actually get points for going to that. They can get priority scheduling later on for adding all these points up with things. So they're liking that a lot more. I just like that we're using it as a camp. All of us are using it as campus. There's not different programs for each different area. And especially with such a big campus, communication is always difficult. And so it's really able for us to communicate with the kids, but with the teachers too. But definitely the buy-in with it is huge.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Heather from Mountain View High School, she's just mentioned that she's just started with flex time tutorials and she's working towards hall passes, and she wants to use the PBIS component soon. But she was wondering, for you, Morgan, what do you use to scan students in the library daily? Like what are you doing for that? I'm assuming it's the check-in module.
Yeah, it's a check-in module. We have off periods for our kids, so they have privilege periods. So we kind of assign, I have a section for before school, anybody can come in. And then first period privilege is specified by only those kids that have privilege. And if they don't have privilege and they come in, it's going to ding us and say they don't have a privilege. And then we'll ask if they have a pass and some stuff like that. But I have a computer and then there's a scanner. So the kids just scan their ID when they come in. I do have an assistant, so she kind of mans that, or we have a student that's helping us man it to make sure that they are scanning in. They're kind of waiting to make sure they're getting into it. But we do also have, for tutoring, we have a tutoring center, and there is a check-in option for the tutoring center. There's a check-in option for the testing center. So we've included all of those as check-in options on there. I was looking at a question. Where does Alan use? I didn't get all of it, but I was like, oh, what is that? But yeah, so it's just a scanner that we're using, and it is the check-in feature for when they're coming into the library. But they also have an option for teachers to make them a pass that is going to be a hall pass for library/technology that will also let them come to us, and then we can end it and send them with a pass back to class through Minga.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know, Scott, to your question, my understanding is that at Allen, we also have scanners at the front of the school. So for things like obviously tardies at the start of the day to check students in, as well as for late bus check-ins, which to your point earlier, Larry, allows you to give them that tardy pass, but it doesn't actually come in as a guidance behavior because we recognize that it's out of their control. Maybe you can talk about that and the use of scanners.
Yeah, so we do, because we're 1 million square feet. One thing that our teachers have enjoyed, because unfortunately, even though our passing periods are 6 minutes?
6 minutes.
Sometimes those kids coming from other locations, or our athletic facility is across the street. They're running across the street and through the parking lot to try to get to their next class, but sometimes they're late. Or sometimes we just like to chit chat with friends and we lose track of time, because that definitely happens. It happens to me all the time. So we do, throughout the building, have tardy kiosks set up, and we have the late tardy bus kiosks by the back door where the buses drop off. So in theory, if a kid is coming from the other campus on a bus with a group of kids, we know that bus was late because of busing issues, or that's outside of the kids' control. So they check in there, which issues them a tardy bus kiosk or a tardy bus pass to get to class virtually. Yes, not like a piece of paper. Yeah, which has saved us so much money on little printers and printer paper for that. But that tardy does not count towards our automated progression of discipline that we have programmed through Minga. Whereas the tardy kiosks in the academic hallways do give them a tardy pass, but also count towards their count for their progression of discipline. So we were able to take our existing tardy policy of, we're very generous. We allow 7 or 8 tardies before consequences start setting in. So after 7, the first 7 send a warning email to the kid and the parent, and issue kind of hey, just as a heads up, you were tardy, like, get your stuff together, don't be tardy. And then 8, gives detention, a Saturday school, and then an ISS. Oh, and so as they progress through it, it'll auto do that. It saved, I know, our discipline center a lot of time. We've been able to automate a check-in system in our ISS and detention rooms. So that way, when they come in, it auto will clear out that discipline. It'll satisfy that. And so we're able to rectify that information with our student management system very easily. And so it's been a great addition. We used programs in the past. Some of them we had to kind of get away from very quickly for cybersecurity reasons. We found out that they were maybe mishandling information or not doing what they should have been doing. And so Minga really kind of met that need in a more comprehensive way than what we had before.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Can you talk about my understanding again is it's like a Chromebook and just a simple kind of like scanner you would get off of Amazon, and they're just sitting there, and they use maybe sometimes their digital ID or sometimes their hard copy ID to scan in. Is that right?
Yeah. So when they're here for safety reasons, we do still require them to wear their physical IDs around their neck, just like we have right now. Or hers is by her neck, not around her neck. Sorry, Megan. But she, you know, we have had teachers utilize Chromebooks in their classroom for kind of a hall pass issuing. If they have to go to the bathroom, they have a Chromebook set up to get the kid out of the class. But our ones in the hallway are actually desktop computers, but it's 6 or half a dozen. And then just a normal scan gun is set up. And so we have one main stanchion that separates our academic area from our privileged location area. So like our cafeteria, library, places kids can kind of hang out when they have that off period. And so someone stands at that stanchion and scans for a tardy pass if they need to pass by. So the teachers that do that have actually really enjoyed holding up the gun and getting to interact with the kids when they do that. And as the kids walk back and forth, they'll check, they'll have the kids show their digital ID to show that they have an active hall pass to get through. And so, it's been a fun addition for those teachers on that duty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds awesome. It's I know I think there's always this moment when we're chatting with schools that haven't seen Minga in action, where this idea of having a scanning station and getting teachers involved like that is like really daunting. It feels as if, oh, there's no way we can get them on board to do that. But based on what I'm hearing from you, it's once you put the system in front of them, it's actually fun. It's not just effective, it's actually fun.
Yeah.
When we do have a duty schedule for staff members and teachers, so they are on like a 9-week rotation that on one of their off periods, I think it's like a 45-minute block, they have a place that they're going to. So it's kind of just known that you have duty, and so you kind of have to go. And so it was just training them on what's their new I guess duty that they have to perform.
Yeah. And
just scanning. A little bit more fun than it was before.
Yeah. We also, duties not always fun. As an educator, we have 1,000,001 things to do in a day. So we actually, for our staff duties, have created, like, we had our engagement point system for students that we tied that PBIS programming into. We also incorporated a teacher engagement point system this year where the teachers are now earning engagement points. And so if they're showing up to their duty, they scan in, they get a point. If they're going to activities to support their students in their class and cheer them on, they're getting points. And so, at the end of the year or periodically, whoever's leading that competition will be rewarded. And so I know that some teachers are busting their butts to get to duty because they promised the top 3 earners next year they won't have a duty. And so they're like really excited about earning those engagement points themselves. And last year, as teachers were asking me, how do I give the kids their engagement Minga points? And I'd tell them, and they're like, why don't I get engagement points? And I'm like, I'm working on it. Chill, like, calm down. It's coming. Yeah.
I love it. That's super cool. And we're hearing more and more schools are doing this. And Chris, it's actually funny because Chris Bryan asked a question. He said, have you all used check-in for staff for campus PD when doing rotation stations?
Yeah. And so we have this year for our PD, we had mandatory full campus, and we have about 400 staff members on our campus. So it is also time consuming to have, old school paper sign-in sheets, and then someone would go in and type that up, and it was just a waste of man hours. And so we have, every staff member also has a digital ID through Minga, and we've really worked hard to tie that in. And so, our full campus ones, we're able to turn on the feature to track absentees. And so if they don't scan in, we're able to see a list really quickly of oh, it looks like Megan over here didn't show up to her training when she was supposed to. And then that can be handled, however admin handles that. But The ones where it's free choice, you know, they can go to any of these rotations. It's been really helpful to garner information over teachers. Yeah, where are they going? Teachers found this training more valuable than this other training. Like, we should really focus on giving teachers what they're needing and meeting them where they are. And so we have used it definitely to support our professional development calendars as well.
Well, and on the professional development days, they don't really have a computer out there all the time. Sometimes they just, like, we have a couple people, they have it on their phone and they're just scanning IDs from their phone too.
Yeah, that makes it easy. And I'm assuming that most of the teachers are probably carrying their phone on them for most of the day, right? So it makes it easy and accessible.
Yeah, when we first rolled Minga out, coming back from winter break last year, teachers weren't aware. So we were scanning them in for that back to school on that PD day versus having them sign in. And then when we got up on stage, we're like, man, that was so quick getting y'all checked in, wasn't it? Like, we all got in and sat down and you can drink your coffee in peace while you're waiting for the start versus standing in a mile-long line of staff members to sign a piece of paper saying you were here. So, you know, really kind of even teaching teachers that it is time saving, right? Like, to even like the hall pass feature versus writing a handwritten pass, you know, it's very time saving, which
only also the kids can we let the kids make their own pass too. Like, they can make their own bathroom pass and let the teacher know that they're going, because the teacher will just say, okay, yeah, accepted, and then they can go. So it's not just having the teacher having to make it all too. So students get to do.
Well, I've lost track of time. We've come all the way to the end here. Thank you so much, Larry and Morgan. Megan, I also appreciate you being here as well.
Yeah, funny enough, her assistant's name is Megan.
Yeah.
Okay, well, she was here in spirit today. But thank you to everyone who was able to join. I think we had around 20 folks listening in. It seems like a really nice mix of folks who are currently using Minga and some folks who are considering it. But we'll follow up, like I said, with all the material, the recording. And if you're listening in today and you want to learn a little bit more, there'll be some details for how you can connect with us. But Larry and Morgan, really appreciate your time, and thank you for doing everything that you do, because it's really powerful and we appreciate it.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Absolutely.
Okay, we'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye.